Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to make a sheet metal practice for you in SolidWorks that looks like an electric box, right? An enclosure, and it has some vents and it has some other inlets for air, and it has pins here that you have these hinges connected. It has a doorknob here, and it has these holes in the back for letting the wires in and out or attaching it to the wall or something. So here we're gonna make this sheet metal made in SolidWorks. So I'm gonna make it in 4 different parts. One is the space of the enclosure, then the door, then these small yellow pins that you can see, and then the doorknob, and then assemble them together. So here I go with the sheet metal design, and I go to the front plane and I draw a square. So first I make the base of the enclosure, and here I make this like 400 by 400 mils. Then I using base flange, I give it 2 mil thickness like that. So I made this back wall here, and now I start making these other walls. So I use my flange command, edge flange, and I start creating flanges. So let's say this guy is like 100. Okay, and then you do the same thing for these other edges. So 400s like that. There we go. Now I need to bring the flanges inward toward each other, and again I use the edge flange. So I click here and bring it down, and this time let's say I go for 30, and then I do it for the other edges. Now pay attention when these flanges intersect each other, it is gonna trim them. Look here. You see, it cuts them at 45-degree angle so they can basically reach each other without any problem, and it does the same thing for here, and then for this one. Okay, so it does the cut, and you can see that it beautifully created these cuts for you to be able to bring them together. And then I need some extra flanges here, so let's go here, and then needs to be in the backward direction, so it should be this way, and let's say 20 mils. See how big it is. I guess that's good enough. And I go here and here and here. Okay, so each one of them should be like 20 mils, and there we go. Okay, so this is this basic part here. Now I need to create these holes in the back. I need to create these inlets, holes here, and then this vent here as well that you can have for a fan, for example. And then I need to make the bottom parts of these pivots, these hinges here, and add it to the box. So let's go ahead and do those. So I can go to my design library and use the forming tools. And under forming tools, I have different forming tools that I have. Under embosses, I have some objects here that you can see. I have extruded flanges, I have lances, I have louvers, and I have ribs. So for this guy in the back, I use this round flange, and here I drop this right there, and I make sure I position it correctly. So I use my smart dimension and provide the dimensions here. So maybe 50 here and 50 from the other edge, like this. And then this is good now, and that should create the hole as I wanted it. Now I can pattern this, so I can go here and grab this guy and then use a linear pattern or rectangular pattern in general. Direction 1 is this direction. Now remember, the whole thing was 400, 250 out of it, so you should have offset of 300, I assume. And then the same thing for the Y direction. So here I choose direction 2. Make sure this is 300 and make sure this is 1 extra, and there we go. I get the 4 holes on the back, as you can see. Good. The next thing I need to do is these louver, right? So I drop them here, and then again I can position it properly, right? And right now it is gonna cut them inside, so another thing you have to do is to do a Phillip tool, so it brings it out like that. Okay, so now I go to position and let's position it right. So this dimension here, and if you compare against that, so here dimensionals are arbitrary, so it doesn't need to be perfect. So let's say 50, then also this guy, let's say 50. Okay, and here I made that, right, that feature. Now I'm going to pattern it, so I select this feature and go to pattern, then choose this direction here, and then make sure this guy is 6. Make sure this offsets like 20, and create that over here. Okay, and then it has it on the other side as well, so I have to repeat that. And since my right plane is the mid plane, I can simply mirror that, right? So I choose basically this guy and this one, and then I go to the mirror, and my mirror plane is going to be the right plane, so I can easily get it on the other side. There we go. The next thing I need to create is this went command here, and went. So I need to draw the sketch for it. So I go here and draw my sketch. So let's say something like that. So I make it 60, provide the appropriate offsets, and so this is 50. Let's lift this guy up a little bit. Good. And now you have to create the other circles and the other lines for ribs and spars. Okay, so here I create 3 more circles with appropriate dimensions. So let's say this guy is like 45. Yeah, maybe too much. Let's go 48. This guy we go to 36, then this guy we go to 24, something like that. Then I do a line, one right here, then I do a pattern of this, a circular pattern of this guy, and the center of rotation is going to be this point. Then I need 8 of that, like this. Okay, so I got all of my lines. Hopefully it doesn't look like I got them. Let me do it one more time. So the center of rotation is here. Then there we go. Okay, so it seems like I have the lines now. There we go. It's kind of like this spider web pattern. And now I go to sheet metal and I use the vent command here. And for boundary, I choose this guy. And then it goes down to the ribs. So I choose these guys. Just make sure the thicknesses are not too much. Maybe I go with something like 4 mils. That's not too bad. Choose all of these lines for your ribs. Then go down to spars. For the spars, choose the circles. Let's use 4 mil as well here. There we go. There we go. Okay, so now I got the vent as well. And so the vent is there, all of these holes, everything is there. I make sure I save this guy. You see here, I made some simple version of that, but this is more complicated, so I call it part 1, right? Although it's better to give it a more meaningful name. Now I need to create the bottom parts of the pivot for it, okay? This one and this one. So let's go here, and we need to choose 2 places. Remember, the whole thing is 400, so if we go to about 1/3 and 2/3 of the height is probably where you want to put those pivots. So I need an extra plane here that I choose from this bottom part here, and make sure this guy is about 1/3 of 400, right? And fill it the offset. So now on that guy, let's use a round number instead of that number over there. So let's just use 133. Okay, and then we go on this guy and we create what the profile for the bottom hinge. So we need something like this, and this guy, let's say 12 and 10. Let's make this guy 10 as well. Then we need a 3-point circle at 180 degrees, and then trim this part out. And then I need a circle here with a given dimension, let's say 6. Then this offset from here to here is also like 8. Okay, so now that guy is ready, and all I need to do is it seems like I did it on the wrong side. Yeah, so you have to be very careful about where to put it, okay? Because when I did that here, it put me on the wrong side. Okay, so let me get rid of this part and grab this whole thing and move it to the other side. Okay, and we can give it a proper location, so it's not really a hard thing. So now we put it on this side. Okay, so now it should be on the right place. There we go, it is. And now I choose this sketch and extrude it upward for 20 mils, like that. There we go. So now this guy is there and I can repeat it. So I choose this and then I pattern it upward in this direction with offset of another 133. Here we go, we have this, and so let me apply some material to it. Let's say aluminum 1060, and I save this. So that is my first part. Now I'm gonna go and make the door. Okay, so for the door we need again a back panel and some flanges. We need to create a cut extrude, and then we need to add these 2 parts of the pivot. So now we can create the door separately outside here, and then go ahead and add it to here, or we can take this to assembly and then in assembly create it. But if I want to do it separately here, I need to make sure that I have all the right dimensions. So I want this distance from here to here, right? Which, as you can see, it is 344, right? And the other one should also be 344, I assume. So 344 is the distance between this wall here and the wall in front of it. Okay, that should be at least 344. In real life, you need a little bit more to allow for a little bit loose tolerance here. But here, let's say we neglect that tolerance and we just make it to be like a perfect fit. So here we go ahead and create the door with dimensions that 344, you know that you have 2 mils flanges added to it. So 348 is the minimum dimension, right? If the flanges are not taking any extra dimension. So the first thing I do, make sure this guy is 340 watt, 8 mil by 340. 8 mil, and then go ahead, go to sheet metal design and give it 2 mil thickness, right, like this. And the other thing that we had was each one of these, remember, they were like 20 mils. So we have to have a 20 mil at least, right, of flange to make it flush. So here I go, and on this other side of it, go ahead and create edge flanges here, up in this direction, and similarly here, here, and here, and make sure that the dimensions are 20 mils here. And you see here, we can have it so it has a little bit material inside or material outside, right? Or anything. So, or you can have bend from virtual sharp, or you can have this bent outside with some offset. So here, if I bend it and bring it inside, right? Let's see. If I go ahead and measure the dimension now, from this face to this one, you see this 344, which is exactly what I need to have. So that dimension is what? That dimension is good. And so now I can go ahead and create a cut here. So that can be done with the slot command here. And let's say this one. And go with 10 and maybe 30. That is good. And then this offset here, horizontal offset if I can get, which is like 15. And then I need this offset from here to here as well, and let's say 120. Okay, so that the sketch is there. So now I can go to the sheet metal and I can create a cut extrude out of that. Right, so this one is good. Now I need to create those pivot parts. So before that, I'm going to give it a name. Let's call it part 2. And remember the dimensions here for these parts, right? For this guy. So if you look at the sketch again, the dimensions are basically 10 by 10 and then 8 offset and 6, right? So just keep that in mind. And now we go here and see if we can get that on here, right? And then the other important thing is the location of the plane over which you're going to draw the sketch here, right? So if that door sits here, the top pivot of that sits here, and the bottom of that is covering here, right? then you need to know basically the distance between this surface and this one plus 2 mils. So right now it's 105, and the bottom of that door, the flange is 2 mil thick, so it's going to be 107, right? And then this guy here is another 20. So 127 is the dimension that you probably need. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to go and choose this here and create an offset plane of 127 in the opposite direction. One modification I would like to do in the box before I go back to the door is this offset of 8, I make it 10 to make life a little bit easier. So I make that 10. So I keep the profile of that one just like this one. So I make it also 10. Okay, and now I'm going to go to the door and create that sketch that I need. So we go to plane 1 and we create a sketch. Now when we do Control 8 and see normal to make sure it is not showing you the wrong orientation, right? Because what I want to see and I want to draw is on this side, okay, on the opposite side of the hole, right? And you see right now, so if I want to do it, I have to do it on this side actually, not on the left side. So be very careful about that. And now remember, so it was something like this, where this dimension was 10. If I didn't change that offset of 8 here, I should have made this guy 8. But I made them all 10. So hopefully it's good. And then I need a 3-point arc here, 180 angle like that. Then get rid of this line, and then I need from here to here to also be 10 units. Then I draw a circle here with diameter of 6. And so now if I go ahead and extrude this, right, upward for 20, that should get me my first one here. And the next one is going to be like this one, but patterned with 133 offset. So this guy should be 133, and this is the direction, opposite direction, of course. So that one hopefully sits on that top pivot part. So now this part is good. The next two parts I need to do are 2 pivots, or one for a door, basically handle or knob for this one. So just need to make sure I got the dimensions of this one. So it is what? It is basically 30 and 10. That's all I need, 30 and 10. And let me apply some material to this before close it. This one I also make out of aluminum. Now I can go ahead and make the doorknob as well as the pins. So the pin is very easy. Let's do the pin first. So diameter 6. Okay, again here we have to really observe the tolerances and everything, but I'm just making them all flush. In reality, that's not the case. And the extrusion should be 40 mils, right? Because each one of those pivots are like 20 mils. So this should be 40 mils. And let's apply some material to it and save it as part 3. So I need 2 of these. And finally, the door handle, right? So I go here, I create the slot command, and then the dimensions are important. So this one was 30, if I'm not mistaken. Just make sure the units are right. Those 30 mils, right? And yeah. And then This guy here is 10, I assume. Let's go ahead and put that guy on origin. So that is the sketch. And now I'm going to extrude this for 2 mils. And I can go ahead and let me apply some copper material. Go to the right plane and draw some knob for this using a revolve command. So here I do a revolve, and let's see if I can get it to be a quarter circle. The other thing I want is this guy and this one to be horizontal, and then now here, then I can add something like this, then get rid of this part, and then do some fillet here like that. And let's see, we revolve this. This one, yeah, there's some part of the sketch is remaining, so you need to make sure that that part is gone. Okay, you see this part is not taken care of. So now hopefully can revolve it, get something like a doorknob like you can see here, right? And save this as part 4. So now I should be ready to assemble them together. So let's go ahead and assemble. First bring the fixed big part, which is the main enclosure, this one, and then bring the other components. So here I have added them, and now let's go ahead and assemble them together. So the first thing is we can attach this, right, to the door. So that coincidence is good. Then we'll make this part with this part to be concentric. Then we need one more, and that is this part and this part. Okay, so now the door is ready. Let's go ahead and put the pivots on each other, the hinges, see if it works or not. So let's go ahead and seems like some faces were already selected. Here, that's the first thing. Now let's take a look here. Yes, seems like they are sitting on each other quite well. Just the door needs to go up. So now let's see. We add these two. What's gonna happen? This is the important part. Okay, so first of all, the holes are sitting right at each other. That is good. Second thing is, seems like if I move the door, you see here, the door should be bigger, as you can see, right? It's not, although we did all the calculation we taught, but it's not still doing its job. So what I'll do is I make those two parallel to each other, and then I need to measure how much I need to make the door bigger. I also need to look at the bottom and the top of it. The bottom and the top, they look right to me, I guess, but not this way. We can check them as well. So the first thing is I right click here, go to select others, and try to get that flat face. Let's see if I can. Well, it's this guy here, right? That one should be over this, and it's not. So I need to evaluate that. So from there to here is 1 mil off, right? And you have 2 mils of thickness, so 3 mils in one dimension. It should be big. Okay, so I went inside part 2, right? Right clicked on part 2, went to edit part, went to this base flange and changed that dimension, added 3 mils on it, made it 351. So now it seems to be covering the bottom portion in both directions. And now all I need to do is to have 2 pins, and then what? Just assemble them, which is a fast mate. So a concentric here, and a coincidence here, and a similar thing for here and here, and then here and here. So that's all I need to do, and now my enclosure is ready. So all I need to do is to get rid of that parallel constraint that I did, right? If there is one, nice. Yeah, this guy, I can deactivate it or suppress it, and there we go. I got the beautiful white enclosure. So hopefully this video was useful to you, and you learned how to make a sheet metal enclosure with the parts for air inlet, the vent for outlet or fan, for these holes for attachment to the wall or electric wire, with the door handle, with pin and everything. And I'll see you in my next video. Thank you so much.